This is a recently passed law. There's some very happy people that they got this passed right here. There's a picture of them. This is from yesterday from theguardian.com. California law will allow families to seek temporary gun restraining orders. California will become the first state that lets family ask a judge to remove firearms from a relative who appears to pose a threat. California's first-in-the-nation gun restraining order legislation was born out of a college town rampage that left 6 people dead at the hands of a killer whose family felt helpless to stop him. Remember,
is that the Santa Barbara thing?
It didn't. It's not specific
Okay.
here. Yeah, advocates say that its greatest use actually might come not in preventing headline-grabbing murderous sprees, but in helping families deal with loved ones who are in danger of taking their own lives, or who might be so angry or distraught that they turn a gun on family members. Victims of domestic violence in California already can file for restraining orders that can include the removal of firearms. So I didn't know that either. So apparently, if somebody accuses you of something now, you can have your right to bear arms taken from you.
And what does it cost to try to get it back? I mean, once you embroiled in court battles.
Yeah, because you know there's money.
It's always about money.
I'm sure the attorneys are
you
very
can buy
happy.
it back.
Sure, just hire an attorney for $10,000 or whatever. Everybody can afford that, right?
And, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Oh, you and your Bill of Rights. It's so cute.
It really is, Mark.
Well, I'm just saying, that's what they wrote down.
Minarchy for the win.
All I'm saying is if you're going to operate a government, you should operate it by the rules. The rules state in the Bill of Rights. What's that?
He is a dreamer.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
That's so cute.
But he's not the only one.
Governor Jerry Brown on Tuesday signed a law that will make California the first state that lets family members ask a judge to temporarily remove firearms from a relative.
It's okay. It's only temporary, Mark. It's not like it's a permanent abrogation of your rights.
Of course.
No, I mean, as long as you have money, you can buy your way out of it. It's no big deal. I mean, just act like any, monopoly corporation that has their hands in the congressional system through their lobbyists. I mean,
well, that's what the government is. It is a monopoly, and it is a corporation.
Yeah, you can buy anything from the government.
It'll also let law enforcement authorities go directly to a judge to seize guns from people they deem to be a danger, as they already can in Connecticut, Indiana, and Texas.
Texas? That's a shocker.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's not getting used that often. Mm-hmm. The problem is once they have these things on the book and then they decide to use them, then you're really in trouble.
I think it's important before we move on to explain to people why it is that we don't like the Constitution.
What do you mean we?
I'm sorry. I and maybe Ian.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it. I used to be like a constitutional guy, but then
Me too.
I like what Lysander Spooner had to say about it. Are you familiar with that?
No, you should tell me.
He wrote in No Treason, I believe it was, in the late 1800s, and I'm paraphrasing, that the Constitution has either been powerless to prevent the tyranny that we have today, or it's authorized it. One or the other.
Yeah,
People will say that we've failed the Constitution.
I really just don't like the philosophy behind it. I mean, I'm a philosophy person, so that's the angle that I'm going at. So philosophically, I mean, you have natural rights. And the fact that this little piece of paper needs to promise you those rights, I mean, I'm not up for it. Like, I just don't think that it's philosophically sound to say these are the rights that you have. Like, you're lucky enough that we're giving you these things, and we might take them away from you. And the fact that they're legislated and not just seen as obvious and natural is the reason that we're losing rights, is because they can legislate it away.
Well, to be fair to the Constitution, and at least the intentions behind it, it was only supposed to outline the rights that were supposed to be respected by the government. Obviously, it didn't work, but it wasn't to suggest that the Constitution gives people rights. It's a common misconception about the Constitution.
No, I'm not saying it didn't, but that's just it, is that it leaves it open to misinterpretation. And that's what I'm saying. That's the problem with the philosophy behind it, is that people interpret it as we're given rights by the government.
Well, I mean, Yes, people do interpret it that way, but
a lot of them.
But a lot of people don't know what it says at all. Like, they have no clue.
That's true.
Including the police.
A lot of the part that actually knows what it says thinks that government's giving us.
There was some poll I read at some point or another. It's like 1/3 of the U.S. population believes the Constitution protects your right to own a pet. I mean, it just goes to, this document isn't protecting anything because people don't read it.
No, not even the people who've sworn an oath to it have read it or any comprehension of it.
In many cases, you'll ask police officers on the stand, have you sworn an oath to the Constitution? Well, have you read it? And they'll be like, blah, 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 blah. No, because they haven't. They haven't thought about that at all. Amendment 9 does say the enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others, meaning rights, retained by the people. So the idea is that this doesn't enumerate every right, just the ones they felt like writing down.
So back to the story here, the proposal being that, and this is a law, and it has been signed into law, and I imagine will take effect probably at the end of the year. I'm just guessing that it was just recently signed in California by the governor. Just one of the disturbing parts of this is that essentially family members are the ones who can file this against other family members. And Lauren, you were saying during one of the breaks of the show that you're not really a fan of some of the people in your family. You're not going to go out and try to do anything to those folks, but they might do something like that to you. There's all kinds of strife within families where people just don't get along, right? Families are just, they're just strangers you're born into. Sometimes some family members are cool, others not so much. Some of them are, dangerous to your freedoms. And in a place like California, there's a real anti-freedom mindset amongst many of the people who live there. So it's probably not an uncommon situation to have a family, let's just say, 5 to 10 people. I don't know how direct the family members have to be to qualify for this. Can a grandmother file against her grandson, or does it have to be like a direct mom and dad versus their son, or son versus the mom and dad? I don't know what the restrictions are. Can a first cousin file against a second cousin? That kind of stuff. But let's just presume you've got just a direct family with a couple of parents and 2 or 3 kids, and one of the children in that family, he's 21 years old. He wants to go out and get his own gun, but mom, dad, and the other people in the family are anti-gun. They do not believe in the right to bear arms, and even though their son hasn't, explicitly threatened anyone, they just are so against the idea of bearing arms that they'll just pull one of these restraining orders just to put a stop to it.
And say whatever they want to say.
Yeah.
Well, clearly, anybody who wants a gun is crazy, right? So that in and of itself is enough to just...
And it could just simply be that, they care about their son, right? It's just that their viewpoint is that no one should have firearms, so therefore they need to stop their son from having a firearm. He might shoot himself.
My family and I aren't really that close, but I'll tell you what, I will give you... Thank you, Ian.
Go ahead.
I will give you that I never had to worry about, even if this had existed when I was a kid, this would have never been a problem. My dad, when I was 17, took me to go hunting, and he said, Lauren, you need to know how to use a gun because you need to be able to protect yourself. And I want to know that wherever you move, when you move away from this family, you are able to protect yourself. And I encourage you to be armed because, he said because you're a girl. But,
Well, it's an equalizer. It's certainly true.
Girls have disadvantages.
It's true.
My dad was, that sounds a little feminist, but I wouldn't pin my dad
God made man,
for a
Sam
feminist.
Colt made him equal.
Yeah.
The fact is that a gun can really level the playing field in a situation where one person wants to be violent towards another.
And it's not just women.
We'll come back with more. You can share your thoughts. 855-450-FREE. This seems like another good reason to leave California if you love freedom. It's Free
Get
Talk
out.
Live. Was there anything more to say about this crazy California law that's just been passed where family members can get a restraining order against your right to bear arms, which, of course, has been constantly infringed upon in California? So it's not like anybody should really be too surprised that this is what's happening now.
I'm disturbed how this is going to be used. Could it potentially be used? Well, yeah. There's certainly people out there that I'm disturbed that they might be armed. But
so arm your damn self in response.
That's the other way to look at it, right? Which
you can't do in California.
don't take
Not
away
easy.
people's rights to be armed. Just be armed yourself. I mean,
Unfortunately, in California, I don't believe that I don't know how possible it is to arm yourself when you're walking out and about. I know a friend of mine lived out there, and he explained that he was legal to have guns in his home, but he could not take them outside his home. So I don't know what you have to do, what sort of crazy hoops you have to jump through to get concealed in California.
I imagine many.
Yeah.
I just want to point out that people's fear is not a justification for taking away other people's rights.
Well, apparently it is
Certainly
in
not.
California.
Yeah, but philosophically, no.
Right. So get yourself, if you care about freedom, to places like New Hampshire where gun rights are actually respected to some extent. Now, New Hampshire isn't perfect. In New Hampshire, you still have to get this shall issue permit in order to concealed carry. But you can walk around open carrying in New Hampshire and in other states as well with no permit whatsoever. And you can't do that in California.
That geeks me out that you have to get a permit to do something that's already constitutionally legal.
Well, those
Not
things
that
are
it needs to be constitutionally legal for you to do it, but it geeks me out that
those
that's
are some
necessary.
of the things that need to be changed over time.
Was
here.
that put in the Constitution? Somewhere in the right to bear arms, I do not see anything about needing
Nope.
a permit to do
because
it.
if you get a permit, then you don't have a right anymore.
There are 20,000 gun laws in this country, and some more and less
That's
restrictive.
federal. 20,000 federal,
Is
right?
that federal ones? Okay.
I could be wrong about that, but as I recall, that's
Wow,
Yeah,
that is
20,000
just
federal.
really sick.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.